first of all, I'd just like to quickly introduce this session. So we're going to be talking about orchestrating vulnerability management, people, and tools. Probably the most complex part of the process, right? Is in many cases it is herding cats, and so we've got an expert at this. I'd like to welcome Eoin to the session here. And Eoin, why don't you introduce yourself quickly, and we'll jump in.
Sure, thanks, Rhett. I'm Eoin Fitzpatrick. I am a longtime practitioner of information security, specializing in vulnerability management. You can find a link to my LinkedIn if you want to understand the arc of my career. Right now, I work for a global analytics firm that's making exciting progress and is using Vulcan. So that's where I come from.
All right, thank you, Owen. So, just to kind of kick things off here, and I think many of you, if you're familiar at all with Vulcan, you're probably familiar or have read a little bit about this, what we call the vulnerability remediation maturity model, right? And taking a look at the market and the industry, we see that many organizations are kind of stuck in that stage one of just being very reactive to vulnerabilities and risk. And I mean, it's a challenge, right? It's hard to stay on top of the crush of infrastructure that needs to be maintained, the vulnerabilities that are out there that are constantly rearing their ugly heads. But so the question is, considering this maturity model, in your experience, what are some of those most common gaps between moving from stage one, which is kind of reactive, that ideal stage four of being having a transformative vulnerability management program in place?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things that really attracted me to Vulcan was this maturity model and how the tool fit right in to this. To answer the question, I think the biggest hurdle that I've found in my career has been is moving from phase one to phase two, and then from phase two to phase three as sort of a secondary hurdle. So what I mean by that, I think a lot of a lot of the speakers today really spoke to this. It's about getting that sort of unified view and using the data from many different places to help the organization understand what to fix and when. To me, it's about giving that first phase, moving from reactive to data driven, is about providing a holistic view of the vulnerability risk in the environment, by which I mean correlating infrastructure vulnerability with vulnerability in code, correlating that set of data with the underlying infrastructure, and correlating all of that with the actual people who do the work, because in the end, they are the customers of information security services, and they need to, if we're not sort of providing them with the data they need, then they're going to have a harder time doing that job. So that's the biggest hurdle that I've found.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
So that is the next question then. So what is the best way to to really get people and teams on the same page, working towards the same goals and objectives, and and in your experience, what is that? What are some best practices there?
You want to present your risk in a unified way. Before I met Vulcan, I was doing this on my own. So I would be taking results from a static code analysis tool, from a dynamic code analysis tool, from an infrastructure vulnerability scanner, and then correlating them with data. I wouldn't say manually, but with a collection of scripts that I have to maintain, and then presenting that to leadership in a way that allows them to direct um, um, the approach to risk mitigation. Um, I've found that a unified view really helps intercept some of the turf wars. And I like to stay positive, but sometimes that's what happens. In a vuln management program is myself as an infosec service provider will approach a team about an infrastructure vulnerability, and then it'll start a cycle of discussion where infrastructure team will point to dev team, and nobody's really having a shared conversation. Um, so moving from phase one to phase two, I think, is about facilitating that shared conversation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so, so if you can figure out the people part of the problem, right?
Right. Right.
All the people typically use tools. I mean, there's no way around it. You have to use tools
Exactly.
to
Yep.
get work done, to
Yep.
automate, especially
Yep.
the scale that we're dealing with these days.
Yep.
And so, the question is, are the tools helping us or hurting us? I mean, we see literally hundreds of tools in the industry, and
Yeah.
what's the best way to put them to work for us and to contribute again to those remediation outcomes?
Oh, that's exactly right. And I think this brings us to phase three. We're starting to push towards phase three and the maturity model, and we're starting to talk about how orchestrating people, getting from phase one to phase two, helps us develop the view that allows us to orchestrate tools. Um, I, I came into this not wanting to be an obvious fanboy of Vulcan, but I am in this way. I knew how to do the social thing. It took me a lot of effort. You saved me a lot of effort as a vendor in moving from phase one to phase two. I didn't realize how easy integration would be with Vulcan. Um, and I think that's where the orchestration really starts to embed itself into the tool set and into the release cycle. Um, Myself as an infosec practitioner, especially in an organization as large as I work for, with as much change as it has to deal with. I'm faced with new tools to do infosec work. Pretty much every quarter, there's a new tool. Um, Looking at Vulcan and working with Vulcan has allowed me to, very quickly adapt to the dynamic needs of groups around the world. I don't know if that's where you'd like to go with this. Is that sort of helping?
Yeah, I think that's kind of our take, right? From a Vulcan
Uh-huh.
perspective, we're not necessarily looking to replace tools. We're looking to make the tools that you have, the investment in those tools, and
Yeah.
frankly, the tools that the people love to use and are successful with already. And again, just direct them, focus them towards these remediation
Hmm.
outcomes, right? And so, that's a big part of what we try to bring to the table at Vulcan is just providing those integrations to those tools, to the data sets that you need. So we provide that kind of holistic view towards getting fixed done, as we like to say,
Right.
right? Um,
Yep.
and so, I guess the next question then is, okay, so yeah, we all understand that the people and the tools need to be oriented to drive these outcomes for remediation, but how do you measure success in vulnerability management, and what does that look like in your world?
Yeah, I think every time I've rolled out a vol management program, I've probably in the course of my career done at least three. Um, and anyone in InfoSec's done this. I mean, I think every organization is different. I think that the way you measure risk is very, very, and the tolerance that you have for risk is very specific to an organization. And so you need some simple basic levers that you can give the CISO and you can give the technical leadership team, whatever that is in your organization, and have them prioritize the weight of risk. This is one of the first things that stuck out to me, again, moving from phase 1 to 2 in the maturity model, was I was able to provide my CISO with the risk weighting formula that Vulcan has, and then have that apply automatically to my entire tool set with almost no intervention on my part, and then have that weight be applicable to the tagging that is, I'd say, native to modern infrastructure. That was just a massive time saver. So when you express risk, it has to match the tolerance of the organization, and that's what this has allowed me to do.
Yeah, another shameless plug for Vulcan here, but Yaniv just announced our vulnerability, our remediation analytics capabilities that we've just introduced to the platform. And so we do have a session we'll dive into that more in more depth here in about an hour, I think it is. So we encourage all the event attendees to take a look and join us for that session to get a better feel for how do we measure, what are the things that are most important to measure depending on who you are in the organization, and what are the metrics that you're watching from a risk perspective, from a compliance perspective, making sure that you're hitting your SLAs to the rest of the business, all super critical.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I know, Eoin, in my conversations with you, you're doing a lot of amazing work with the integration of the tools, right? Using your vulnerability management stack. And we would love to get you on another session here, another maybe webinar in the future here in the next couple of months to kind of dive into some of the work that you're doing around, Python scripting and deep dive integrations between tools to drive remediation. So can we get you back for more time?
Yeah.
If possible. All right.
Are we able to take questions with this platform? Do we have time?
I think, if there are questions, we can take them through the event chat. So I just encourage anybody watching to enter questions there. And it sounds like we've got maybe 2 minutes before we break to our next session. But
I'll be in the sessions, so I'll be here. You can see me as a participant if you'd like to chat. I love to chat with people in the industry. I love understanding this practice and understanding how people do it. So feel free to reach out. If you want to chat.
Absolutely appreciate the offer there. And just so everybody's aware, there's a networking function in Hop Into our virtual event platform here, where you'll see Eoin in there. You can request to connect with him there, and you can ask your questions directly. And so, with that, we can wrap up here. Just as a couple additional resources here, some CTAs. We referred to the maturity model. We've got an entire ebook there. I'll post a link to that ebook in the event chat here, and it'll take you right there. Registration required. And then if you'd like to, get a demo of anything we've talked about here, we've got a demo link, and we've got a free trial. If you want us to spin up an instance of Vulcan for you, and you get hands-on like Eoin is, we're happy to do that for folks. So with that, I think we can wrap up this session. And Eoin, I really appreciate your time and your insights, and I think we're kind of looking forward to hearing more from you. Let's go deeper here in the near future.
All right, Rhett. Thank you. Everybody have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Eoin.